This story unfolds in the United Kingdom, but begins on the Indonesian island of Sumatra, in the city of Jambi, where Reynhard Sinaga was born on February 19, 1983. Raised in the bustling capital of Jakarta, Sinaga grew up in a well-off family as the eldest of three brothers. They were part of the Batak ethnic group, known for their strict Protestant Christian values. As the firstborn, Sinaga was expected to uphold family responsibilities and traditions, a challenge compounded by his secret. He was a gay man in a predominantly conservative Islamic society. Standing 5 feet 7 inches tall, Sinaga was soft-spoken with a warm smile and wore thick-rimmed glasses, presenting himself as harmless and friendly. Underneath this mild exterior, however, was a desire to escape the oppressive environment of his homeland. In 2007, after earning a degree in architecture from the University of Indonesia, Sinaga obtained a student visa for the UK and moved to Manchester to pursue further studies in urban planning and sociology. Manchester offered Sinaga the freedom he longed for, and he settled near the city's vibrant university area. Princess Street, where he lived, was a lively hub with Chinatown on one side and the gay village on the other, marked by its welcoming rainbow flags. The area was known for its exciting nightlife and was a magnet for diverse crowds, including Sinaga. In 2008, Sinaga's path crossed with a woman named Sarah, not her real name, who shared his circle of friends. In a BBC interview, she described Sinaga as popular and flirtatious within the gay community, yet he seemed to avoid wild parties, preferring a more composed demeanor. He took great care in his appearance and often spoke of his influence over men, hinting at a disturbing truth beneath his charming facade. Sinaga's life in Manchester was partially funded by his wealthy father, but he also worked part-time jobs, including at a bar in the gay village. His boss remembered him as a standout employee, polite, efficient, and always smiling. Yet, there was an eerie quality to his constant smiling and eye contact, a hint of something more manipulative. Little did anyone know, the friendly man known as the posh spice of the gay village was hiding a dark secret. His flat on Princess Street, just a stone's throw from where he worked and socialized, would soon be revealed as the center of chilling crimes, marking him as one of the most notorious criminals in recent history. After a long day of work or study, Reynhard Sinaga would sit by his window, closely watching the streets. He had a particular interest in strong, muscular, tall men, especially those who seemed drunk and alone. When he saw a chance, Sinaga would approach these men with a smile that hid his true intentions. He wasn't looking to attract or connect with them genuinely. Instead, he would either follow a potential victim or hang around late-night food spots, ready to take advantage of anyone who appeared vulnerable. Sinaga's method was devious. He presented himself as a helpful figure, a good Samaritan offering a safe place for those too intoxicated to go on, needing to charge their phone, or not ready to end their night. His apartment seemed like a safe refuge, a generous offer from someone who appeared harmless and overly kind. Tragically, this ruse was effective more than once. Security footage once captured him guiding an extremely drunk individual back to his flat in less than a minute. Once inside, Sinaga would shift seamlessly from a lurking predator to a welcoming host, offering a seat and drinks without raising any suspicions. His apartment was cluttered, filled with various objects, including numerous fridge magnets. He would then offer a range of alcoholic beverages, vodka, tequila, rum, gin, whiskey, catering to any taste. The real danger was in these drinks, spiked with a drug called gamma-hydroxybutyrate, or GHB. Known on the streets as liquid ecstasy, Gina, or G, this substance was easily obtainable in Manchester both on the streets and online. GHB acts similarly to alcohol, but can sedate a person deeply, sometimes leading to total unconsciousness, and it also affects memory, allowing Sinaga to carry out his crimes unnoticed. The consequences of these spiked drinks were devastating. Once the drug took effect, the victims, despite their physical strength, were helpless. Sinaga would then prepare an area with blankets and covers on the floor to resemble a bed. He would carefully position his victims face down, partially undressed, and set up his white iPhone 4 to record everything that followed. Completely unclothed by this point, he would then use his black iPhone 6 to continue recording as he committed his assaults, which he would prolong for hours without stopping. He filmed these attacks to revisit them later, a grim trophy of his actions. The scope of Sinaga's crimes was enormous, involving over 200 victims, making it a complex case to unravel without specific dates and times. Many victims have no memory or prefer not to recall what happened. Yet, some have come forward to share their experiences, including a man named Robert, a pseudonym, who recounted his encounter with Sinaga. On a typical night out, Robert stopped at a takeaway after partying to charge his phone. While waiting for his food, he asked a worker if he could charge his phone there. Overhearing the conversation, Sinaga offered, "I've got a flat nearby. You can charge your phone there if you want. It's just a 5-minute walk." Thinking it sounded reasonable and seeing no threat in Sinaga, Robert agreed and followed him to his flat. The flat looked like any normal university student's place, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Sinaga quickly offered him a variety of drinks, but Robert declined. He didn't want to hang out or drink with Sinaga, he just needed to charge his phone. When Sinaga persisted and offered drinks again, Robert felt something was wrong. After charging his phone to 5%, he decided to leave. On his way out, he politely took Sinaga's number, but saved it as Creepy Sinaga in his contacts, with no intention of calling him. For Robert, it was a close call. A simple decision to not have a drink with a stranger may have saved him from a worse fate. Many others weren't as fortunate, and Sinaga's sinister activities continued. Another man, who chose to remain unnamed, also met Sinaga after a night out at Factory nightclub. Having lost his friends, he was outside trying to find them when Sinaga approached, making conversation under the guise of concern for a fellow student. They talked for about 15 minutes, after which Sinaga invited him into his flat to stay warm while he tried to reach his friends. It all seemed fine at first. The man followed Sinaga into his flat, chatting casually about school and life in Manchester, a big city where students often help each other out. Once inside, Sinaga offered him a couple of drinks. After a few drinks, he needed to use the bathroom. When he returned, Sinaga had prepared 2 shots, one red and one clear. He drank them quickly, one after the other. After that, he remembers nothing until waking up at 6 in the morning to find Sinaga on top of him. In a disturbing WhatsApp conversation from July 2015, Sinaga told a friend that his flatmate was moving out. The friend, excited, said, "Well, now you can get lots of straight boys in." Sinaga cruelly responded by sending a photo of an unconscious, mistreated victim with the message, "You mean like this one?" Sinaga often bragged to his friends about his exploits, joking that he could turn straight men gay, making it seem like these were just hookups. His friends, unaware of the truth, continued the joke. One friend commented on how Sinaga had a new straight guy every week. Sinaga boasted about rescuing a man from an argument with his girlfriend at the nightclub, calling himself Super Sinaga saves straight boys from their monstrous girlfriends, along with a photo of another unconscious victim. One friend joked about finally seeing inside Sinaga's room, which had always been off limits, calling it the magic door. The friend joked about Sinaga always saying it was too messy to enter. They made light of his ability to attract straight men and his secretive personal life. One even joked about bodies piling up under his bed. Committing such crimes was horrendous, but the way Sinaga detached himself, seeking validation and making jokes with friends while hiding the reality, showed a deeper level of sociopathy and narcissism. On the surface, his youthful demeanor and naive personality made some think he was harmless, like a Peter Pan figure. But in truth, he was one of the most heinous criminals Britain had ever encountered. Sinaga faced difficulties in his personal relationships as well. One of his close female friends remembered that he once had a boyfriend who worked long hours at the Ibis Hotel across from Sinaga's flat on Princess Street. The relationship didn't last because the boyfriend didn't have much time for Sinaga, which Sinaga couldn't handle. When they broke up, Sinaga took it hard. He even threatened his ex-boyfriend, telling him he would hurt himself and drink bleach in an attempt to manipulate him. By 2017, Sinaga had been carrying out his crimes for a decade, while also studying for his PhD at the University of Leeds. His thesis was titled "Sexuality and Everyday Transnationalism Among South Asian Gay and Bisexual Men in Manchester." Unfortunately, he failed his PhD and continued his criminal activities. This all came to a head on the morning of June 2nd, 2017. That cold morning, a man who had just left Sinaga's flat made a frantic 999 call. He was visibly shaken and told the operator, "Hello, I think some guy just tried to rape me after he took me to his house, and I didn't want to." The call handler focused on ensuring the man's safety first, but also asked if the incident happened the night before. The man explained that he met Sinaga the previous night and suspected he had been drugged because he woke up with Sinaga on top of him, attempting something horrible he couldn't even put into words. The man described how he woke up and, in a panic, fought back, injuring Sinaga severely. He explained his bloodied hands by saying he had to hit Sinaga to get away. Within 10 minutes of the call, the police arrived at the scene to find a very chaotic situation. One man claimed he was a victim, while the other, Sinaga, was badly hurt on the floor, surrounded by a lot of blood. The man who made the call was arrested due to the scene officers walked into. Sinaga was taken from his flat on Princess Road to Manchester Royal Infirmary in critical condition. This left the police in a difficult position, trying to figure out who was the real victim, as Sinaga was hospitalized and his accuser sat with blood-stained hands. The truth about Sinaga soon came to light, even as he lay in and out of consciousness in the hospital. Obsessed with the whereabouts of his mobile phone, he was clearly distressed. Detective Inspector Matt Gregory, who visited Sinaga in the hospital, learned from the medical staff about Sinaga's anxious behavior regarding his phone. Gregory found the phone hidden under the bed. When Sinaga gave an incorrect PIN to unlock the phone, it raised suspicions. Was this due to his injuries, or was he trying to hide something? Despite these challenges, Gregory eventually unlocked the phone. As soon as he did, Sinaga made a desperate move to knock the phone out of his hand, confirming the officer's suspicions. Gregory immediately checked the photo gallery, and what he found was shocking: thumbnails of explicit images of a naked male. He watched 3 videos, all showing a similar and disturbing scene: a man lying face down, his trousers and underwear pulled down, while a naked Sinaga approached and assaulted him. These revelations proved the innocence of the man who was in police custody for causing grievous bodily harm to Sinaga. The evidence on the phone showed he had been defending himself against an attack. The police quickly changed course, releasing the initially accused man and focusing on Sinaga as the criminal. After his release, the man discovered he had accidentally taken Sinaga's second mobile phone when he fled the flat. He handed it over to the police, providing further evidence for the investigation. This led to the discovery of over 3 terabytes of explicit footage on Sinaga's phones and hard drives, showing more than 200 men being assaulted, all while drugged and unconscious. The scale of Sinaga's crimes was overwhelming, equivalent to the content that would fill 1,500 DVDs. This case exposed Sinaga as a master manipulator, a young Indonesian man who used illegal substances to overpower and harm hundreds of young men. The case, known as Operation Island, revealed a grim scene at Sinaga's Montana house residence on Princess Street. Next to his bed, police found a collection of trophies: phones, driving licenses, student IDs, watches, and wallets, all from the men he had assaulted. The Greater Manchester Police confirmed that there were 206 victims, supported by digital, physical, and corroborative evidence. The trial began on September 28, 2018, while investigations continued. Of the 206 victims identified, prosecutors focused on 48 willing participants for the trial, as about 60 individuals could not be identified from the evidence, and another 80 were unwilling to participate. During the investigation, the reactions of the approached victims varied significantly. Many were initially angry, confused, or indifferent, with some becoming highly emotional upon learning what had happened to them, seemingly re-experiencing the trauma. Over 70 sought help for their assaults, and the impact on their lives was profound, with many experiencing breakdowns in relationships and struggles with mental health and self-esteem. The trial itself was grueling, consisting of 4 separate trials. It was challenging for the Crown prosecutor and the judge to avoid depersonalizing the victims, who were forced to relive the assaults by watching the videos in court. Sinaga, disturbingly, appeared to take pleasure in the proceedings, smiling and focusing intently on the victims as they identified themselves in the footage. The defense attempted to argue that the encounters were consensual and involved role play, an argument that was visibly traumatic for the victims as they were questioned while the assault footage played. This defense was unanimously rejected by all 4 juries. The prosecution argued for a whole life sentence due to the severity of the crimes, but initially, Sinaga was sentenced to life with a possibility of parole after 30 years. The judge described him as a dangerous, disturbed, and perverted individual who was detached from reality. For many victims, the sentence didn't fully address the harm caused, though it did provide some measure of closure. One man in particular felt a sense of justice having escaped Sinaga's flat and significantly injured him, effectively ending his criminal activities. After the sentencing, more victims came forward, including 11 previously unknown. This expanded the known scope of Sinaga's crimes. Solicitor General Michael Ellis expressed dissatisfaction with the initial sentence, leading to a 2020 hearing that increased Sinaga's minimum term to 40 years. This adjustment meant that Sinaga's fate would be decided in 2060, when he would be 77 years old, reflecting the gravity of his offenses.